You need to leave. Now. The store owner's voice was harsh as he pointed toward the exit of his electronics shop. Your wheelchair is blocking my aisles. It's a liability issue. Lieutenant Colonel James Patterson had simply been trying to buy a laptop, navigating the narrow aisles as best he could in his wheelchair. I'll call security if you don't go, the owner continued. This store isn't designed for your kind. Other customers stopped shopping to watch the confrontation, some pulling out phones to record. Sir, Patterson said calmly, the Americans with Disabilities Act requires. I don't care what some government law says, the owner exploded. This is my business, and I decide who shops here. What this ignorant store owner didn't know was that he was violating federal law while ejecting a man who'd spent 20 years defending the Constitution. The customer he was treating like a second-class citizen was a former Special Forces commander who'd lost his legs in a Taliban ambush while leading a rescue mission to save kidnapped aid workers. And Lieutenant Colonel Patterson was about to teach him that some laws aren't suggestions. They're requirements worth fighting for. Lieutenant Colonel James Patterson had learned to find happiness in simple things during his 3rd year of retirement. Morning coffee, reading tech news, and going to Tech World Electronics to replace his aging laptop. As Patterson wheeled his chair through the store's main entrance, he felt the familiar sensation. Stares, whispers, discomfort. He'd been dealing with it for 3 years, but it never got easier. After 20 years of military service, even the simplest civilian tasks could become challenges. Store owner Steve Morrison, 52, was a tough man with a difficult approach to customer service. He'd designed his store for high-end customers buying premium electronics, and disabled customers didn't fit his brand image. As Patterson tried to reach the laptop section, the narrow aisles were genuinely problematic. But this wasn't an ADA violation, just poor design. Excuse me, Patterson approached young sales rep Kevin. Could I look at the gaming laptops? Kevin hesitated, glancing at Morrison. The boss was frowning. What price range were you thinking? Kevin asked. 3,000 to 5,000 for CAD software. Kevin's expression changed. This was a serious customer, but Morrison approached. Kevin, we have other customers. Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson, maybe ordering online would be more practical for you. First red flag. Why online? Patterson asked calmly. Morrison looked around, trying not to draw attention from other customers. Well, as you can see, the store is narrow. Maneuvering is difficult. There are ADA compliance requirements for minimum width, Patterson noted politely. Morrison's face hardened. My store meets legal requirements. But Patterson had served 20 years in Special Forces. He noticed details. Aisles under 32 inches, no turning space, no accessible bathroom. Textbook ADA violations. May I look at the laptops, please? Patterson repeated. Morrison's patience snapped. Look, buddy, this store isn't practical for your needs. Buddy. Condescending tone. Patterson's jaw tightened. You need to leave, Morrison raised his voice. Liability issue. Other customers in the store stopped. Elderly couple, college students, businesswoman. Everyone was watching. What liability? Patterson asked calmly. You'd create problems during emergency evacuation. Fire hazard. Patterson had heard this excuse before. Always fire safety, never honest discrimination. Sir, Patterson spoke slowly, the ADA specifically prohibits— I don't give a damn about the ADA, Morrison exploded. Silence. Complete silence. Everyone froze. Overt discrimination in public. A college student pulled out his phone and started recording. Federal law, Patterson spoke calmly, requires equal access. This is my store, Morrison shouted. I'll do what I want. Patterson sat up straight in his wheelchair. Military bearing automatically kicked in. Sir, Patterson's voice changed, authority tone. Federal law overrides personal preferences. Morrison felt Patterson's real presence for the first time. This wasn't just any disabled customer. Who, who are you? Morrison asked. Lieutenant Colonel James Patterson, United States Army, retired. The atmosphere shifted. The college kid continued recording. The businesswoman stepped closer, interested. Army? Morrison was suspicious. What unit? Special Forces. 1st Special Forces Group. 20 years active duty. Morrison's confidence wavered slightly. Special Forces meant serious business. If you're so tough, Morrison went on the defensive, how'd you end up in that chair? Wrong question. Patterson looked directly into Morrison's eyes. Taliban ambush, rescue operation, Afghanistan, 2019. The elderly couple moved closer, listening intently. Kidnapped aid workers, 3 American doctors, held hostage in a Taliban compound. Morrison began shifting uncomfortably. Rescue mission, Patterson continued. Successful. All hostages recovered. But, Morrison asked, IED during extraction. My legs. Stayed in Afghanistan. Silence. Want to know the details? Patterson smiled coldly. Morrison couldn't answer, but customers were gathering. 3 doctors, kidnapped by Taliban, taken to a compound 50 miles behind enemy lines. Patterson's voice was professional, factual. My team, 12 Special Forces operators. Mission, extract hostages, neutralize threat. The college student continued video recording. The businesswoman had tears in her eyes. Operation successful. All hostages recovered alive. Patterson paused. Cost, 2 KIA, 3 wounded. And you? The elderly man asked. IED blast during compound exit, buried under rubble. Legs crushed, spinal damage. Morrison's face had gone completely pale. But mission completed. 3 American lives saved. What decorations? The businesswoman asked. Patterson reached into his jacket and pulled out a worn leather wallet. Inside, military ID, medal, photos. Distinguished Service Cross. Extraordinary heroism in combat. He showed Morrison. Silver Star, gallantry in action. Bronze Star with V device, valor under fire. The college student zoomed in on the photos. Purple Heart, wounded in action. Patterson closed his wallet. 20 years defending the Constitution, including the ADA. Morrison realized this wasn't just a disabled customer. This was an American hero. Constitutional law, Patterson continued. Equal protection under law. Civil rights. The atmosphere in the store had completely changed. Customers were gathering around Patterson. The ADA, Patterson explained, is an extension of the Civil Rights Act, passed in 1990. Customers listened intently. Public accommodations must provide equal access. Reasonable modifications are required. Morrison was defensive. I can't change my whole store. You don't have to, the elderly woman interrupted. Just basic courtesy. Patterson nodded. The ADA doesn't require structural changes for small businesses, just a good faith effort. So what do you want? Morrison asked. To look at laptops, Patterson said simply. To be a customer, normal treatment. The businesswoman looked at Morrison. What's so hard about that? The college student was still recording. This is going viral, dude. Morrison looked around. The entire store was against him. Look, Morrison began backpedaling. Maybe we got off on the wrong foot. Or, the elderly man spoke up, maybe you need to learn basic human decency. Other customers murmured agreement. Patterson raised his hand for silence. Military command presence. Folks, I appreciate the support, but this is an education opportunity. He turned to Morrison. Sir, I worked as a federal contractor for many years. I had to learn ADA compliance. Federal contractor? Morrison asked. Military base construction, security systems, communications, Patterson explained. ADA requirements everywhere. Morrison realized this man was an expert on this subject. In your store, Patterson began in a professional tone. I see several violations. Morrison panicked. What violations? Aisle width below 32 inches. No accessible parking space markings. Non-compliant bathroom. Patterson pulled out his phone. Photos can be documented. Federal complaint can be filed. Wait, wait! Morrison raised his hands. Let's talk about this. The businesswoman smiled. Now you want to talk. The college student stopped recording. Should I post this? Patterson, wait a little bit. Give Mr. Morrison a chance to do the right thing. Morrison sighed with relief. Mr. Morrison, Patterson spoke in a teacherly tone, the ADA isn't difficult. Basic modifications. Like what? Aisle rearrangement. Add turning space. Accessible checkout counter. Patterson surveyed the store. Display case lowering. Product placement adjustment. Cost? Morrison asked worriedly. Minimal. Most changes are organizational, not structural. The elderly woman. We'd shop here more if it were accessible. The businesswoman. My dad uses a walker. Can't shop here now. Morrison realized accessibility meant more customers, not fewer. Mr. Morrison, Patterson went into business mode. Let me share some statistics. 61 million Americans have disabilities, 13.7% of the population. Morrison listened carefully. Plus, families, friends, caregivers, we're talking about 150 plus million people affected. Disability market spending, $490 billion annually. Morrison's eyes widened. That was serious money. Accessible businesses get more customers, better reviews, positive community reputation. The college student, I'd definitely review this place positively if you fix it. The businesswoman, same, this could be a PR win. No catch, just helping businesses comply with the law I defended. The elderly couple exchanged glances. This man was giving back even after his sacrifice. Okay, Morrison slowly agreed, but no government reporting. Unless necessary for compliance, Patterson stipulated. 1 week later, Patterson returned to Tech World. Dramatic changes. Aisles widened. Display cases lowered. Clear pathways created. Morrison personally greeted him. Colonel Patterson! Lieutenant Colonel, Patterson corrected with a smile. Same thing. Welcome back. The store was completely different, accessible, welcoming, professional. Other customers included an elderly man with a walker, a woman with a service dog, and a family with a stroller. Business is up 23% this week, Morrison proudly reported. Patterson navigated to the laptop section easily. Kevin, the sales rep, enthusiastically assisted. You wanted to look at gaming laptops? Kevin remembered. Actually, Patterson smiled, I need it for an online business. What business? Accessibility consulting, helping small businesses with ADA compliance. Kevin's eyes widened. That's awesome, Morrison approached. Do you have a business card? Other store owners have started asking. Patterson handed over his card. Patterson Accessibility Solutions, veteran-owned business. Morrison read aloud. Community service mission. 3 months later, Patterson's consulting business was thriving. 12 local businesses had been made ADA compliant. Community accessibility had dramatically improved. Tech World Electronics had become a model store. Morrison was advising other business owners. Best business decision ever, Morrison told everyone. Accessibility equals profitability. Patterson's story had been featured on local news. Veteran transforms community accessibility. The video the college student posted had gone viral. 2.3 million views. Comments were overwhelmingly supportive. This is a real American hero. Accessibility matters. Thank you for your service. All of it. 6 months later, Patterson received a speaking engagement from the Chamber of Commerce. Topic: Business benefits of accessibility compliance. Audience: 200 plus local business owners. Morrison sat in the front row, a proud supporter. Accessibility, Patterson began, is not a burden. It's an opportunity. My military service taught me. Leave no one behind. The same principle applies in civilian life. When we make businesses accessible, we don't just follow the law, we strengthen our community. The audience applauded enthusiastically. 1 year later, Patterson's consulting business had gone regional. 45 businesses transformed. The city's accessibility rating had improved dramatically. Morrison had franchised TechWorld under the Universal Access Electronics brand. And Patterson? He was still serving his community, wearing a different uniform. He'd received the Chamber of Commerce Community Service Award. In his acceptance speech, "The military taught me to defend the Constitution. In civilian life, that means defending civil rights for all Americans." Service doesn't end with retirement. The mission continues. The battlefield changes. The audience gave him a standing ovation. Mrs. Patterson, his proud wife, applauded with tears in her eyes. Real heroism continues in different uniforms. From battlefield to boardroom, the principles remain the same.
Protect those who cannot protect themselves.
Lieutenant Colonel James Patterson learned this in 20 years of Special Forces service, and he proved it in civilian life. Sometimes the greatest victory is not defeating the enemy, but transforming hearts and minds. Sometimes the real mission starts when you think your service is over. The end.